In this episode of the Wilderness Only account, as promised last time, we're going to be doing another Wilderness Discoveries episode. The main things we're going to be covering in this episode is the 100-hour thieving grind and how that will be completed, training agility and finishing off smithing. Then we're going to be talking about doing clue scrolls restricted to only the wilderness and if it's even possible. So without further ado guys, let's get started. Until 2 episodes ago, I did not think training thieving on this account was possible, until I found a level 2 man in the cemetery which could be pickpocketed, allowing us to progress in this crucial skill for our account. Because of this find, I've been very interested in getting 84 thieving, which unlock the wilderness rogue chests. These chests offer a various amount of rewards, and every single one of them is useful. Aside from all the common and uncommon drops that are very useful for my account, there is one drop that I just can't turn down, which is the 10 shark rare drop. Food will be used for pretty much every grind moving forward, so unlocking a food that heals 20 hit points this early into the game would be extremely useful for the account. The question now remains, how are we going to tackle the 2.9 million EXP barrier that stands in the way? Let us talk about the 100-hour journey. After 2.5 hours of roughly pickpocketing the man located in the cemetery, we hit ourselves 32 thieving, allowing us to pickpocket rogues for an uncommon drop of a lockpick. This item would let us move forward in thieving and let us go to our next best training method, which would be to continuously lockpick this door at the Magic Axe Hut, which gives 22.5 thieving XP every time you are successful. These doors grant a total of 14k XP per hour, and would have to do this until level 39 thieving. Surprisingly, this only took me around an hour and a half to complete, dying twice as well. But with that level out of the way, we can finally move forward onto our next big grind, which is lockpicking another door. The pirate's hideout has a requirement of 39 thieving to actually lockpick the door, and with each successful attempt this time, we are getting 35 XP. A big step up from 23. Within the hideout as well, there is this one specific chest that I could not open, which should give me 125 thieving experience every 50 seconds. Under the chest section in the thieving category, I actually could not find this chest on the list, so I was kind of confused as to why I couldn't unlock it. After doing some research on the wiki under thievable chests, I realized you needed 43 thieving for this one in particular, and it grants 50 coins every successful attempt. So it is back to clicking on a door for 43 thieving. This one actually gives around 17k EXP per hour, so it wasn't as bad. To lockpick this door as fast as possible, we can put our mouse button onto 1 and in resizable mode angle our camera so that all we have to do is simply left click at a specific area and then it instantly just allows us to lockpick this door. An absolutely huge level coming in here. Boom, 43 thieving. Now we can finally unlock this chest in the pirate's hideout. When we hit continue, it doesn't even tell us about the chest up here, probably just because it's such old content. But yeah, this is absolutely massive. If we take a run to the chest, as you guys can see, we click search for traps, and after around 5 or 6 seconds, the entire action is complete, and we are granted a nice fat EXP drop of 125. Of course, if I could just spam this for 125 XP, I would, but it has a 50-second cooldown timer per world, so we can get spicy with it. Because there is a world hopping limit, of course, I cannot just hop worlds all day and claim my free EXP from this chest. You can only hop like 15 worlds every 10 minutes or something, I don't know the specifics, but combining this method with lockpicking the doors actually boosts our XP tremendously. After a lot of experimenting with this method, I came up with a rotational based system, giving me around 26k XP per hour. This method would involve the use of 2 timers I would keep handy to myself on the RuneLite client while I was training. The first timer at the top, set to 8 minutes, is the chest hopping timer. After hopping 15 times at the chest here for 125 XP, I would set off the 8-minute timer, which would be the cooldown I'd have to wait before going back to this. While waiting the 8-minute timer, I would simply come back and lockpick this door. To speed up this process as well, I added a simple screen marker which would actually just tell me where to put my mouse for an easy clicking simulator. The second timer is simply just the chest's cooldown, which is 50 seconds, and every 50 seconds while I was clicking this door, I would just go over and hit the chest, because it is worth the 125 XP over continuously clicking the door. Because I was getting upwards of 26k XP per hour with this method, I realized that it would be worth it to actually stay here until around 60 thieving, because only then pickpocketing rogues would actually become worth it, and I'm going to explain why. But before we can move on, we're going to have to do this method for around 12 to 15 hours. This will be the final chest. Here it comes, boys. 125 EXP drop. Oh man, we can finally move away from this method. I streamed the entire thing here, which is why you're going to see some white dots in this video. So yeah, we can finally move on to pickpocketing rogues, which is going to be an entirely different grind in itself. Now, rogues are really nice because you can just left click them since the pickpocket option is on top. The downfall, of course, is taking 2 damage every single time I fail. But there is actually the possibility of landing a jug of wine when pickpocketing these guys at a 1 in 32 chance. The jug of wine heals 11 HP, which means that if I can consistently get 1 jug of wine every 5 fails, I could potentially sustain myself at the rogues forever. Which is why in the first place I wanted to get my thieving level to a reasonable amount so that I didn't have to make my own food because it is scarce from the wilderness. Rogues are actually the last stage of the grind to 84 thieving. At 60 thieving currently, I need to pickpocket these around 73,000 times. And just this part alone should take around 80 hours. It's been 20 so far, so combined with the 80, it's going to be around 100 hours total. Just to put it in another perspective, by the end of this grind, just from pickpocketing rogues, I should have myself around 2.4 million coins simply from pickpocketing these guys and around 17,000 air runes. Of course, as I level up, the EXP rate gets better because I will be failing less each level. Early on, I'm going to be looking at around 30 to 35k EXP per hour, but in the later levels like 80 plus, I should be getting around 45k EXP per hour. It's really hard to calculate, and I'm not going to be fully efficient, of course. I'm going to be clicking these AFK a lot, so just going to round it to around 80 hours. I was actually curious to see if there was a level where I would stop failing them, and I found this very old Reddit thread around 4 years ago, almost 5, of Will Dependent, who was the OG Wilderness Ironman because he had to do this grind. And funnily enough, he had the same question as I did, but there were really no answers. I don't think anyone knows what level you stop failing rogues, if you even do stop failing them. So I guess we're just gonna have to see and find out for ourselves. So far, and as of recording and editing the Thieving Grind, we've gotten 2 genie lamps, which I've put into smithing, of course, which is going to be the next topic. So let's move right into that. Both of these skills are going to play huge roles on the account. Agility not only helps me get amazing escapes at Revenants, and just helps my run energy in general, but it is also a segue to helping me get my smithing to 15 faster. Because my account can access the Wilderness Agility course, I can actually farm bronze bars directly by running laps within the course. I realize the skeleton I kill hopping worlds here that drops a bronze bar are actually located within the course itself, meaning that I could train agility while farming the bronze bars off these skeletons every single lap. This would be amazing because then I wouldn't have to world hop, missing random events potentially. I could get agility and some combat EXP and train smithing all at the exact same time. And of course, every genie I get will be used on smithing just as a bonus to help me reach 15 faster. One of the huge endgame goals I have for this account is 89 agility, so I might as well get started on that while going for another low level requirement. Might I add that right beside where you farm the bronze bars from the skeletons, there's actually an anvil right here, so I could just bring a hammer and instantly, with the bronze bars that I obtain, smith them for that EXP. That pretty much sums up the agility / smithing grind. I'll probably get really close to 15 smithing just from genies from pickpocketing rogues, but once we hit 15 smithing, a lot of content will be unlocked, and we'll talk about that in another episode. Alright, so I've left maybe the best section for last. I don't know. We're going to be talking about clue scrolls and if they're even possible on this account. This would be the hard clue scroll. These are the only ones that are reasonable to do that have wilderness steps. I currently have the only clue scroll in the wilderness that does not require a spade, which is searching the crate in the Dark Warrior's fortress. Alongside this clue, there are a ton of coordinate clues in the wilderness, except there's one issue. I don't have a spade. So even if I got these clues, I could never actually dig in the exact coordinate to complete it. Hard clue scrolls are 4 to 6 steps long to get a casket. Getting 4 to 6 steps of a wilderness clue, extremely unlikely. So we would have to use a method called clue juggling, where you would obtain multiple clues from an NPC, juggle them around, and hope they're the same step in your area. The first time I heard about this method was from Ultimate Ironman Verf in his Karamja only series, so I have to give a huge shout out to him. Currently, the most feasible options of obtaining the hard clue scroll are either from the rogue chests, which have a 199 drop rate, or we can go ahead and kill hellhounds, which drop them at a 1 in 64 chance, but we can half that if we get a Ring of Wealth Eye, which is fully possible on this account. Although 15 smithing will need to be trained first, and this is way long down the road. I've still not figured out how I am going to get a spade. Regardless if an update comes into the game or not, this is the key to doing this, so if I can't get my hands on a spade, well, this method will never be possible. Unless I make one final exception for the account, which is purchasing a house and using it to build a tool store too, and getting a spade that way. Obtaining normal planks are not a problem as they spawn all around the wilderness, and the oak planks that I would use to actually build the tool store are an uncommon drop that come from Vedion, so even if I took this route, it would still be extremely difficult. Keep in mind, even if I had the spade, it would still be a very slim chance of me completing a clue, but if I did, there are some pretty useful drops like Black D'hide and Blessed D'hide that I could use for the account, but it would just be more of the anticipation of getting the actual casket and opening it. But I'm curious to see what you guys think about it, so if you want to leave your input on this below, please comment something. I will be reading them all, so yeah. That's going to bring episode 13 to a close. I've pretty much talked about all the main points I've wanted to for this discovery episode. There might be a third. The grinds are going to be rough, but we'll get there. Till next time, guys, have a good one.